Yo, what's up guys? It's Noah here, and in today's video, we're going to be breaking down the Week 12 NFL slate on Draftkings and Yahoo. Going to do a full position-by-position breakdown of this Week 12 main slate. Obviously, we're not going to talk about every single player at each position, but we're going to hit on the guys that I do really like, maybe 5-6 players at each position, quarterback through tight end, the players that I do have the most interest in this week. And as we go, we will build out an early core of 5 players that I have a lot of interest in. If you do want to get access to my full updated core plays, those are posted on Patreon Sunday morning. I do also provide an article for each Sunday main slate. I post that on Saturday morning. All that can be found over on Patreon. If you do want to get access to more content from me, I do have stuff available on Patreon that's linked down below in the description. But before we do get started with the video, guys, as always, I would appreciate it if you would hit that like button down below. Hit the subscribe button as well if you are new here. I do upload a ton of NFL content to this YouTube channel. I'm going to be uploading NBA videos daily. Once NBA returns in like less than a month, I'll have NBA content up as well. I'll still be making NFL stuff while NBA is going on. So I'm going to have a ton of content up. Be sure to hit that subscribe button. Click the notification bell as well, so that way you do get notified every time I upload. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at this Week 12 slate. Recording this video on Friday, so these are pretty much my final thoughts. We don't have Friday practice reports yet, but that is something we're going to have to monitor. There are a lot of guys questionable this week. I'm assuming a lot of these guys that are questionable wind up playing, but like Kyler's questionable. At the running back position, Kamara, Jacobs, like some of these guys got in limited practices, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. I saw that Todd Gurley missed practice on Friday. We'll have to keep an eye on that. Austin Eckler could potentially return from IR, so that's really big news if he plays. Austin Eckler is only 6,100. Even at the wide receiver position, like Michael Thomas, Calvin Ridley, like I said, Julio missed practice, or Julio and Todd Gurley missed practice on Friday, so we'll need to watch that. There's just a lot of stuff we'll have to watch heading into Sunday. I'll break this down, break this slate down, just assuming all these guys do play. But yeah, let's go ahead and start off at quarterback. So quarterback's a position I've been paying up a lot this year. Normally quarterback I like to go cheap, but the guys at the top like Kyler, Mahomes, Josh Allen, Herbert, these guys have just been on another level this year, giving you 25, 30 DraftKings points seemingly every week. These are guys we want to try and pay up for. Kyler Murray leads the top of the slate. He is 8,200. Look, I think Kyler's a great play if you can fit him in. Obviously on the road against the Patriots is not the most ideal spot, but at this point, I would consider Kyler Murray matchup proof. I don't really care who he's going up against. The guy's just so good. He's so mobile. His rushing upside just puts him over the top when it comes to like other QBs. When they get down to the goal line, like Kyler Murray has the upside to get rushing touchdowns. They don't just turn it around and hand it off to the running back. Like they will let Kyler run it in near the goal line. We know he has the upside to get 250 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, and add 60 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown on the ground. Like that is easily in his range of outcomes. At 8,200, he is expensive, but I think Kyler Murray is one of my favorite pay-up options. I also really like Patrick Mahomes, and I think given the little bit of savings, the better game environment, I do slightly prefer Mahomes over Kyler Murray this week. Overall, Mahomes is one of my favorite quarterbacks on the slate. He's 8K on DraftKings. Looking at Yahoo's pricing, you got Mahomes coming in at $37 over there, which is where I really like him. $2 less than Kyler, $2 less than Josh Allen. He's the same price as Justin Herbert. Definitely like Mahomes at $37 on Yahoo. So this is one of the games that we are definitely going to want to target this week. If you look, this Chiefs and Bucks game, right now it leads the slate in implied total. It's got a 55.5 implied total with the 3-point spread favoring the Chiefs. This is a game we expect to be high scoring, or at least Vegas expects to be high scoring. They expect it to stay close as well. And that's where we want to target Mahomes. Like we want to target Mahomes in games where the Chiefs are going to be forced to, keep their foot on the gas pedal. We don't want to play Mahomes in games where they can maybe get a big lead and maybe they run the ball. I thought that was going to be the case in the Jets game, but that didn't really happen. Either way, Mahomes is an elite play every week, and especially this week in a game that projects to be such a high-scoring game. I know Tampa Bay's had a good defense this year, and they've been much better defensively than they were last year, especially against like the pass, but that doesn't bother me with a guy like Patrick Mahomes. Mahomes is matchup proof at this point. The guy's going to go out there and crush every week. Really, the only game he didn't do well was against Denver, and that was just because their defense got like 2 touchdowns. Mahomes barely had the ball. Like he only threw the ball 23 times in that game. That's obviously not something we're going to expect here. I really like Mahomes. I think he's my favorite quarterback to pay up for overall. I think he has a ton of upside. If this game does shoot out, which I think it will, then Mahomes we could see him go for 450 yards, 5 touchdowns. Like, he has 35, 40-point upside. We know he has some rushing upside, not nearly on the same level as Kyler, but Mahomes can give you some upside through the ground, which just adds to his ceiling, adds to his floor. So he's my favorite quarterback this week. I don't mind Josh Allen either. It is a really good spot for Josh Allen at home against the Chargers. Another game that expects to be high scoring. Another game with a very high total, 53 implied total right now. I just think I give the slight edge to Mahomes. I think I like Mahomes' stacking options better as well. Like, I like Tyreek Hill this week. Kelsey, you can always pay up for a tight end. I like some of the run back options on Tampa Bay as well. Like, Antonio Brown is one of my favorite receiver plays this week. So that's just one of the reasons why I do prefer Mahomes over Josh Allen. But you can't go wrong with Allen either. Really, Herbert up. Those 4 guys, Murray, Mahomes, Allen, Herbert, like, they're all in play for me. If I had to rank them, I would probably rank them how they're priced. Or I would actually put Mahomes over Kyler Murray. Mahomes 1, Murray 2, Allen 3, Herbert 4. But all 4 would be in my player pool if I was playing multiple lineups. If I'm just playing like a few lineups, probably would go like 1 Mahomes, maybe 1 Kyler Murray, and then maybe 1 like pay down option. Because there are some good pay down options at quarterback this week that I do want to touch on. But looking to like this mid-range, there's not much that stands out here to me. I think Cam Newton at home against the Cardinals is in a favorable spot. 6,400 is a decent price for Cam. Look, he's got the rushing upside. It's just a matter of how much is he going to throw. This is a game where I think the Patriots will probably get behind. We know this Arizona offense is so explosive. We know Arizona is going to put up points seemingly every week. We want to play Cam in games where he's throwing the ball 35, 40 times, like he did against Houston, like he did against the Jets. When he only throws the ball 20, 25 times, rarely do you get ceiling games from Cam. You want the Patriots to be playing from behind. That's when Cam, in terms of his fantasy upside, that's when he's just the best, when they're having to throw. I think that will be the case this week, so I do like Cam at 6,400. Taysom Hill, I was very high on him last week once he got announced as a starter. And he did have a really good game, 233 passing yards, no passing touchdowns, but he added 49 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns, finished with just over 25 Draftkings points. Look, it was a very favorable spot for Taysom last week. He was at home against the Falcons. This is not nearly as good of a spot on the road against the Broncos. But Taysom Hill is just one of these guys that just has so much rushing upside. Like, when they get down to the goal line, like, they will just direct snap it to Taysom Hill, let him get the rushing touchdown. Like, even if he only throws for 200 yards, like, he could still give you 60 rushing yards and multiple rushing touchdowns. Like, the rushing upside is what's going to make Taysom Hill a play every week. So I think because of that, he is still in play for me, even with the price coming up. I think with the price up to 6,200, like, nobody's going to play him. He's going to be really, really low owned. So I do like Taysom Hill in tournaments. I'm still interested in him, even with the price coming up. But then if we're just talking about value this week, there are 2 cheap options I like. Matt Ryan at home against the Raiders, 5,900. Look, I never get Matt Ryan right. It seems like every time I play this guy, he busts, and then when I don't play him, that's when he goes for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. So because I'm playing him this week, this will probably be a week that he busts, but he's so cheap, man. It's a great game environment. This Raiders-Falcons game is one of the other games that has a really, really high total. Opened at 56. It's been bet down to 54, but still a 54 implied total, I believe, is second highest on the slate, if I'm not mistaken. Second highest on the slate behind Chiefs and Bucks. So great game environment, 3-point spread as well, like expecting a close game here. At 5,900, I think Ryan is too cheap, especially at home. Like, we know his home and road splits, he always has been better at home in the Dome, in the Falcon Stadium. Same with like Julio, Calvin Ridley, like a lot of those guys play better at home as well. This Falcons offense just as a whole, they just seem to put up more points when they're at home. I do like Matt Ryan here for 5,900. Keep an eye on the status of Julio, because if Julio does wind up out, that is a bit of a downgrade for Matt Ryan. He has been pretty bad without Julio this year, but still he's so cheap. It's a great game environment. It's projected to be a high-scoring game. I think Matt Ryan for 5,900 is a guy that I will be looking to as a value quarterback. And then on the other side of that game, I think Derek Carr looks really good as well. Great matchup for him against the Falcons. So far this season, I'm pretty sure the Falcons are like top 3 in terms of fantasy points allowed, passing touchdowns allowed, passing yards allowed to quarterbacks. Like, they've just been killed by quarterbacks. They've been killed through the air this year. The spot could not be better for Derek Carr. The only issue I ever have with Derek Carr is that just the Raiders run the ball so much. Like, we see even in close games, Derek Carr may only throw the ball 25, 30 times. But this is a spot where he could be really efficient. Like, even if he throws the ball 30 times, like, he could have one of those games like he did last week where he goes for almost 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, even on 30 pass attempts, just because of how bad this Falcons defense is. once again, great game environment here. Project to be a high-scoring game. Project to be close as well. I do like Derek Carr at 5,700. I think, there's plenty of stacking options you can run with him, whether you want to go to Henry Ruggs, whether you want to play Darren Waller. You could always stack up, Carr with one of those two guys, run it back with someone on the Atlanta side, like a Julio if he plays, or a Calvin Ridley. This game just has, a lot of viable options on both sides. Makes for a great game stack. So I do like Derek Carr and Matt Ryan. Those are two of my favorite, kind of cheap quarterbacks this week. I do want to mention Robert Griffin. He is expected to start this week with Lamar Jackson testing positive for COVID. Lamar has already been ruled out. Right now, this game is still expected to be played, but signs are kind of not pointing to that way. It looks like the game's probably going to have to get postponed again, but we'll just kind of have to keep an eye on that heading up to Sunday. If the game is played and it doesn't get canceled or anything, Robert Griffin, he's only 4,100. Anytime we get quarterbacks this cheap, I think they become viable because it's going to be very hard for them to, really kill your lineups when they're this cheap. Even if Griffin gets, let's say, 13 points, that's not really killing you at 4,100. Obviously, you're not going to win a tournament with Robert Griffin getting 13 points, but, in cash games, 13, 15 points from Robert Griffin, I think I'll take that in cash games at his price tag. That's going to allow me to pay up for all the expensive, running backs, receivers that have very, very high floors, very high ceilings. So at 4,100, assuming Robert Griffin does start for Lamar Jackson, which looks like it's going to be the case, even in a tough matchup, I think just price alone does make him a viable option if you are wanting to, kind of punt the quarterback position. But yeah, let's go ahead and move on to running back now. So at the running back position, once again, I think Dalvin Cook is clearly the top option on the slate. It doesn't look like Christian McCaffrey's going to play. I believe he's already been ruled out. He's listed as doubtful, but I'm pretty sure he's not going to play this week. So that kind of leaves Cook as our top tier guy above 9K. Like I talked about Dalvin Cook last week, it was a great spot for him against the Cowboys. He went out there and smashed 115 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Also had 5 catches for 45 yards. Finished with 29 Draftkings points. Honestly, Cook probably could have had a better game. There was a couple times where the Vikings were at the goal line and they threw it to Adam Thielen, I think twice. Adam Thielen had 2 touchdowns near the goal line, or I know one of his touchdowns was at the goal line. If they turn it off or turn around and hand it off to Dalvin Cook there, he's going to finish with 35, 36 Draftkings points. So I really like Cook this week. It's another great spot for him against the Panthers. The Panthers, they've been killed by the run this season. They've been a team that's always struggled against the run. I'm pretty sure in terms of fantasy points allowed to running backs, they're top 5 in fantasy points, a top 5 in yards. This team just can't stop the run. Dalvin Cook's at home where he always seems to play better in the dome. I like him a lot this week. I think if I can pay up for him, he is my favorite running back to pay up for. It is a bit tougher to do so on DraftKings. The pricing's a lot tougher. But for $9,500, if you can find a way to fit Dalvin Cook in, he is clearly the best running back play on the slate. Now on Yahoo, their pricing is a little bit softer. If you play on Yahoo, you kind of know that. You can find guys that are cheap on Yahoo that allow you to pay up for the stud. So I am definitely going to be building around Dalvin Cook over on Yahoo. Even though he's $42, he's my favorite running back play on the slate. Now on DraftKings, it'll just come down to what kind of value we get. Depending on what happens with some of these questionable guys, if we do get some value on Sunday, that'll probably make it easier to go to Cook. Right now, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to get him into my main lineup. It just kind of depends on, what value opens up heading up to Sunday. But regardless, Dalvin Cook is clearly one of the best plays on the slate. But then, you got Alvin Kamara, who I'm kind of iffy on. His price came down, but he was only targeted once by Taysom Hill last week. He just didn't have a great game overall. It was a good matchup, too, against the Falcons, and now he has to go into Denver to face the Broncos, not nearly as good of a spot. I'm probably going to be off Kamara while Taysom Hill's at quarterback. I just don't know if Taysom Hill's going to target him nearly as much as Drew Brees did. They just didn't use Kamara that much last week. I don't know how they're going to use him with Hill at quarterback. So there's other guys, too, that I'd rather play that are in better spots. Like Josh Jacobs, he's one of my favorite running back plays this week. 7,200 on DraftKings. Looking at Yahoo's pricing, he's pretty cheap over there, only $25. I love this spot for Josh Jacobs. Against the Falcons, we know this Falcons defense is terrible. They've been better against the run this year than they have against the pass. It is a much better spot for the pass catchers like Waller, Ruggs. It's a great spot for those guys. But still, I do like Josh Jacobs here. This Falcons team can definitely be beat through the ground. They do still allow a lot of receptions to opposing running backs. I know Josh Jacobs is not, an elite pass catcher, or at least he doesn't get the usage in the passing game that I would like. But he's going to get the carries, man. They're going to feed him the ball 20 plus times. He'll get a few targets as well. We know if they get down to the goal line that Josh Jacobs is going to be punching it in. Like, this is easily one of those games where we could see Josh Jacobs go for over 100 yards with multiple touchdowns like he did against Denver in Week 10. I like Josh Jacobs a ton this week. He's one of my favorite running back plays. I'm not hearing too much talk about him either, so I don't think he's going to be that popular, which just makes him even more appealing. Love Jacobs here against the Falcons. I think it's a great spot, great game environment, projected to be a high-scoring game. Like, really all the boxes are checked for Jacobs this week. But Nick Chubb, another guy you could look to in that range. Love the spot for Nick Chubb against the Jaguars, another team that's just been killed by the run this season. Chubb, since coming back from injury, like, he's been awesome. Over 100 rushing yards in 2 straight games. Should have had a touchdown last week, but he got pulled. He had like a really long 50-yard run, got tackled at like the 5-yard line or at the goal line pretty much, and then they pulled him out of the game and brought in Kareem Hunt, and Kareem Hunt got the touchdown. So, he's kind of run bad with touchdowns, especially last week, but this is a guy that's going to just get fed the ball. They're going to give him 20-plus carries. The Browns are another team that just wants to run the ball as much as possible. They should be able to do that against this Jaguars defense. I do like Nick Chubb. I think given game environment, given that Josh Jacobs will probably see at least a little bit more usage in the passing game than Chubb, I do prefer Jacobs over Chubb, but I still think Nick Chubb is in play. Him and Josh Jacobs, I keep saying Kareem Hunt. Him and Josh Jacobs are two of my favorite guys to go to in that 7K range. With Christian McCaffrey not expected to play, you could definitely look to Mike Davis. He bounced back last week, had a decent game, 19 carries, 64 yards, and a touchdown. Also had 2 catches for 15 yards. Another pretty good spot against the Vikings. If you want to go to Davis, I don't mind him at 6,900. Like, James Robinson's affordable. It's not the best spot against the Browns, but I know they're expected to be without Myles Garrett this week, which should make their run defense a little bit weaker. At 6,300, you could look to James Robinson against the Browns. Like I said earlier, if Austin Eckler is able to return from IR, he did practice Wednesday. We don't have practice reports yet for Friday, so we'll have to keep an eye on that. But if Austin Eckler returns, 6,100 for Austin Eckler is a huge discount. Like, this was a guy we were paying close to 7K for, and now we're getting him, back in this Chargers offense with Justin Herbert at quarterback. Weeks 1, I'm pretty sure week 2, or maybe not week 2, but I know week 1, that was when Tyrod started. Like, he just didn't look great with Tyrod under center. Looked much better weeks 2 and 3 with Justin Herbert under center. Obviously, he got hurt in week 4. But with Herbert now at quarterback, I do expect Eckler to get targeted. I expect him to get the carries, assuming he's not limited and he does play this week. For 6,100, he is a really strong play, and I think a guy that I will definitely be looking to at the running back position. I'm not sure if he plays. It's definitely like a 50-50 at this point, but it at least will be something we do need to keep an eye on heading up to Sunday. But if Austin Eckler does not play and he's out, once again, Kalen Ballage, 5,800, I do have a lot of interest in. Pretty much whichever one of, if Eckler plays, I like Eckler. If Eckler's out, I like Ballage. They're kind of similarly priced. There's just a $300 difference. But just the last 3 weeks with Eckler out and Justin Jackson also out, we've seen Kalen Ballage pretty much just lead this Chargers backfield. 17 touches in week 9, got 23 touches in week 10, and also got 23 touches last week. Like, he's been getting great usage in the passing game. He's been getting 13, 15 carries a game. He's getting the goal line work. What more can we ask for? At 5,800, getting a running back that's going to see 20-plus touches, that's going to get usage in the passing game. It's a good matchup as well. Buffalo has really struggled against the run this season. If Austin Eckler does not play, I like Kalen Ballage a lot at 5,800. I think he's one of the stronger running back plays in that 5K range. There are a bunch of guys here that you could look to, but I will definitely be going to Ballage if Austin Eckler does wind up out and does not play this week. Myles Gaskin, another guy that could return from IR, so that's something we're going to have to watch heading up to Sunday. With Joe Mixon still out on IR, you could look to Gio Bernard, 5,700 against the Giants. I don't mind him in the 5K range. We'll have to keep an eye on the status of Todd Gurley. If he does play, it's a good matchup for him against the Raiders. You could look to him at 5,500. But the other guy that I do like, or 2 other guys in this 5K range, so Salvon Ahmed, he's kind of been the Dolphins' workhorse back just the last few weeks with Myles Gaskin on IR, with Jordan Howard no longer on the team. Matt Breida really hasn't been involved at all. It's been Ahmed just getting all the carries, 21 carries and 1 reception, week 10 against the Chargers. Then last week against Denver, 12 carries with 5 receptions, so he got 17 touches in that game. Like, he's been a workhorse back. I'm pretty sure he played on over 80% of the snaps last week. Assuming Gaskin does not return from IR and it's going to be Ahmed starting once again, I like him a lot at 5,100 against the Jets. We'll have to keep an eye on his status because he is also questionable. Seems like just about everyone's questionable at this point, but If Gaskin winds up out and does not return and Ahmed starts again for 5,100, I like him a lot in the 5K range. And I think Wayne Gallman as well for 5K is also in play as sort of a cheaper running back. Look, he's not been very efficient lately, but he's getting the touchdowns. He's getting the work as well. I mean, 13 touches, 15 touches, 19 touches. Like, he's been their number one running back. He's played over Devontae Freeman. I'm pretty sure Freeman's like out right now. Like, Freeman's not going to return anyway. It's been the Gallman show, in this Giants backfield. He's had some tough matchups too, like against Philly, Tampa Bay, Washington. Had to face Philly again. Now he gets to face the Bengals, a team that has always struggled against the run, a team that you can definitely run on overall. Right now, the Giants are pretty big favorites in this game as well. I think they're like favored by 5 or 6. Pretty good game script, good matchup, cheap price tag as well. I think Wayne Gallman at 5K, another guy that we can look to in this 5K range. Him, Ahmed, Gurley if he plays, even Kareem Hunt you can maybe look to, Ballage if Eckler's out, Gio Bernard. Like, these are guys I'm definitely looking to in this 5K range. They do make for solid, kind of RB2 plays, or, if you want to play like 2 of these guys with Jacobs or 2 of these guys with the pay-up option, you could do that as well. But let's go ahead and move on to wide receiver. We'll talk about the wide receiver position. So at wide receiver, last week I talked about Keenan Allen. He was my favorite pay-up option. I think that's going to be the case once again this week. $8K on Draftkings, $29 on Yahoo, I believe. Yeah, $29 on Yahoo. Look, I like Keenan Allen once again. The dude's just been a complete stud. He's getting massive volume. He's coming off a huge game last week against the Jets. 16 catches, 145 yards on 19 targets. Also did score last week. Look, I mean, at this point, this guy's matchup proof. I don't care if Trey White's shadowing him. I don't care if they double team him. Like, Keenan Allen's just such a talented receiver. He's going to find ways to get open. Justin Herbert's going to get his number one guy the ball. Like, Allen's going to see double-digit targets most likely once again. It's a great game environment. It's expected to be a high-scoring game against Buffalo. I do like Keenan Allen a lot. He's my favorite pay-up option at receiver. Just talking about the guys like 7K and above, I think you could definitely look to really any of these guys. But overall, if I had to just choose one, I do like Keenan Allen the most. Obviously, if you're playing Patrick Mahomes, like me, you could look to stack him with Tyreek Hill if you want to do that in tournaments. Cash games probably wouldn't go that route, but tournaments you could go to Tyreek Hill at 7,800. Michael Thomas finally looked good last week. He got heavily targeted by Taysom Hill. 12 targets, 9 receptions for over 100 yards. Obviously, not nearly as good of a matchup this week on the road against Denver. But if Taysom Hill's going to keep targeting Michael Thomas like he did last week, you could definitely look to Michael Thomas at 7,400. Depending on what happens with the Falcons receivers, Julio is 6,500, Calvin Ridley 7,100. If either one of those guys play, if they both play, I think they're definitely in play, especially like in game stacks. If you want to stack them up with Matt Ryan, or if you want to stack up Derek Carr with one of his pass catchers and then run it back with someone on the Atlanta side. Regardless, I like both Ridley and Julio. Julio's 6,500. That's a really, really affordable price tag. So he'd probably be my preferred guy to go to. We'll definitely need to keep an eye on both those guys' status. I believe Julio did miss practice Friday, so that's something we'll have to monitor heading up to Sunday. But Cooper Kupp is a guy that I do like a lot this week. 6,400 on DK. Yahoo, he's coming in really affordable over on Yahoo. I think that's where I like him the most this week. He's only $18. Like, if you just look at the guys on Yahoo that are priced the same as Cooper Kupp, like, he's the same price tag as Christian Kirk, Corey Davis, Keelan Cole, Darius Slayton, Mike Williams. Like, give me Cooper Kupp over all those guys, man. Like, Cooper Kupp has just been getting great volume lately. I'm pretty sure he's seen like 40 targets. Yeah, 40 targets over his last 3 games. Coming off a game Monday night against Tampa Bay where he got 13 targets, 11 catches for 145 yards. Look, he had his worst game of the year when he faced this same San Francisco team back in week 6. Only had 3 catches for 11 yards on 9 targets against the 49ers. I would not expect that bad of a performance again from Cooper Kupp. Like, he's getting the volume right now. The Rams are seeming to throw the ball a little bit more than they were at the beginning of the year. Like, Jared Goff has been dropping back a lot lately. Some of that's been due to game script, but we know when Jared Goff drops back to throw, he's looking to Cooper Kupp. He's looking to Robert Woods. Those are the 2 guys that are going to get the volume. At 6,400 on DraftKings, I don't see anyone really going to Cooper Kupp, so he does make a lot of sense in tournaments. I think the upside is there. We've seen that the last few games. I do like him a lot in tournaments just as a one-off, or if you do want to stack him with Jared Goff, I could see doing that. But on Yahoo, that's where Cooper Kupp looks the best. He's only $18, really affordable price tag. One of my favorite receiver plays overall. I think he's just way too cheap. Definitely going to be in cash game consideration for me at that affordable price point. But I do like Cooper Kupp in the 6K range. There's other guys like Mike Evans you can maybe look to in that, high-scoring game. You could go there. But my favorite Tampa Bay receiver this week, I talked about him earlier, Antonio Brown, 5,700 on DraftKings. Another guy that's very affordable on Yahoo, coming in at just $16 over there. Love AB on Yahoo as well. So AB just continues to be more involved every week with this Bucs offense. In his debut against the Saints, that was a terrible game. The Bucs only scored 3 points. AB was targeted 5 times in that game. And the next week against the Panthers, he got targeted 8 times. Brady missed him on a long touchdown. He should have had a way better game than he did. And then last week, Monday night against the Rams, he got 13 targets. He actually led the team in targets, 8 receptions for 57 yards. If they're just going to keep involving AB like they are, for 5,700 in a game that projects to be high scoring, I know Kansas City's defense has been good, but this is a game that we expect to shoot out. We expect points to be scored. If they're going to keep targeting AB, 10, 12 times a game, if he's going to be the number one receiver for this Tampa Bay offense, which is kind of trending that way, I know he hasn't scored yet, but we're going to get a big AB game at some point. This is still one of the more talented receivers in the league. You just watch this guy play. He is still insanely quick. He gets open. He's a great route runner. At 5,700, he's my favorite Tampa Bay receiver and one of my favorite run back options with my Mahomes stacks. I like AB the most between him, Godwin, and Mike Evans. I think you can look to all 3 guys. They're all affordable. Evans is only 6,100. Godwin's only 6K. But given price point, AB is only 5,700. He is the guy that I do like the most from this Tampa Bay offense. And I think it could come this week. We're going to see a big Antonio Brown game at some point. With how much he's being targeted, he's eventually going to, break a long touchdown, or he's just going to find the end zone at some point, and we're going to see a 20-plus point game from AB. And sure enough, it could come this week in a game that projects to be so high scoring and projects to shoot out. So love AB this week. One of my favorite plays in the 5K range. Robert Woods, only 5,800, coming off a big game. Another guy that you just expect to get a lot of volume. If you want to go to him, I don't mind him either this week. Jacoby Myers, I know he busted last week, but he is still the number one receiver for the Patriots in games where they are throwing the ball. Jacoby Myers should see plenty of volume. I know that wasn't the case last week, but another favorable matchup this week, another good game environment against the Cardinals. If you want to go to Jacoby Myers, I think he also is in play in that 5K range. I do prefer guys like AB, probably would prefer Robert Woods as well, but don't mind Jacoby Myers at 5,300. I do want to talk about the Bengals receivers real quick. So you got Tyler Boyd's only 5K. T. Higgins is only 4,700. All these Bengals receivers, pretty much these 2 guys in general, have been really priced down because of Joe Burrow getting injured, and now Brandon Allen is expected to start for the Bengals. So obviously with Brandon Allen at quarterback, we do expect this Bengals offense to be, not nearly as efficient, probably not going to be, as good. You don't expect them to put up as many points with Burrow, or with Allen at quarterback rather than Burrow. But these guys are going to get volume, man. Tyler Boyd's been a target monster this year. Even with Allen at quarterback, I expect that to continue. And for 5K, that is too cheap for Tyler Boyd. This was a guy that we saw priced a lot, in the 6,500, 6,700 range. Against the Giants, at home, only 5K. Even with a backup quarterback, I still like Tyler Boyd a lot. I think he's a really good play. And T. Higgins as well, 4,700. Another guy that's just getting great volume, 29 targets or 28 targets over their last 3 games. Should not be 4,700 against the Giants, a pretty favorable matchup. I don't expect the Bengals to be a very explosive offense with Brandon Allen at quarterback, but these are still really talented receivers that can find ways to get open. I still think Brandon Allen will find a way to get these guys the ball. So I do like the Bengals receivers this week, and I'm not hearing much talk on them. So for tournaments, T. Higgins 4,700, Tyler Boyd 5K. If I had to choose one, I think I would prefer Tyler Boyd, but both guys are really solid options. If you're playing someone like Wayne Gallman, they could make for run back options in your Wayne Gallman lineups if you do want to look to do that. But now, really, really cheap plays. There's 1 or 2 cheap plays I want to touch on. So Henry Ruggs, 4,300. Look, he's been terrible this year. He has not done really anything besides the one game against the Chiefs where he caught a long touchdown. He had a 72-yard touchdown in that game. Aside from that game, he's been god-awful, under double-digit DK points in every game except one. However, though, he's really cheap this week, and it's a matchup at or on the road against the Falcons in a dome, in a great game environment, a game that projects to be high-scoring. We've already talked about how bad this Falcons defense is, how much they have struggled to defend the pass. They don't really have any good corners. If there was ever a spot for Henry Ruggs to finally break out and put up a big game, it's going to be this week against the Falcons. I do like Henry Ruggs in tournaments. I don't think many people are going to go to him with how bad he's been this year. He should be really, really low owned, so if you want to look to him in tournaments, if you want to stack him up with Derek Carr, that's going to be a very cheap quarterback receiver stack that you can look to do. I do like Henry Ruggs as a cheap option. And then lastly, very cheap play, minimum salary, Andy Isabella coming in, $3K on DK is also minimum salary, $10 on Yahoo. Definitely a guy I'm going to be looking to as a punt option this week. Larry Fitzgerald, he tested positive for COVID. He's already been ruled out for this game. So I am expecting Andy Isabella to kind of take over Larry Fitzgerald's role in the slot. I assume Isabella will probably play 60, 70% of the snaps, if not more. We've seen this year, like, he hasn't really been able to get on the field because he's kind of been the fourth string receiver. He's behind Hopkins, Kirk, Fitzgerald in the pecking order. But now with Fitzgerald out, I do expect him to play on 3 wide receiver sets. I do expect him to pretty much be their, kind of slot receiver. And potentially with Stephon Gilmore shadowing DeAndre Hopkins and kind of like, fighting with him all game, maybe we see Hopkins struggle a bit to get open against Gilmore. I don't think that's going to be the case, but maybe we see Hopkins struggle a bit with Gilmore on him, and we see more targets go to the way of Christian Kirk and Andy Isabella. This is a guy that has big play upside, can break off a long touchdown. We've seen them throw to him deep multiple times this year. They just kind of yet to connect. I think they did connect one week. I think it was that game against Detroit. He did have a long touchdown that game, if I'm not mistaken, but this is a guy that has big play upside. Now he's going to be on the field way more with Fitzgerald out. Minimum salary, $3K on DraftKings. I definitely like Andy Isabella as a punt receiver. It's going to be very hard for him to kill your lineups at minimum salary, and he definitely has the upside to put up 15, 20 DK points, break off a long touchdown, and he's just going to be on the field way more than he normally would be now that Fitzgerald is not playing. So I do like Andy Isabella a lot as a cheap play. I think he's one of my favorite just overall punt plays on this slate. I don't think he's going to be too popular either because I'm not really hearing much talk on him. He's one of my preferred guys to go to. Under 4K, looking for a really cheap receiver. Isabella's a guy that I do like a lot. But let's go ahead and hit on the tight end position just real quick before we do end the video. So last week was kind of like a brutal week at tight end. We didn't have many pay-up options. Well, we got Travis Kelce, we got Darren Waller back on the main slate this week. Between the two, I think Darren Waller is my preferred option, just given the savings. It is an excellent matchup for Darren Waller. So far this year, I'm pretty sure the Falcons have allowed the most fantasy points to tight ends. They've been god-awful defending tight ends this year. Spot could not be better for Darren Waller. Only thing that worries me, I guess, is the price point. Like, he is very expensive. He is $6K on DK. Pretty sure he's 25 on Yahoo. Yeah, Waller's 25 on Yahoo, so you're paying a lot for him. But it's a great matchup. We know the volume's going to be there. We know he's going to be one of Derek Carr's go-to guys. Like, he's going to probably lead the team in targets. Like, this is one of those games where we could definitely catch a ceiling game from Waller. He could go for over 100 yards with a touchdown and put up 25, 30 DK points. I do like him a lot. I think if you want to stack him up with Derek Carr, that makes plenty of sense. Definitely one of my favorite pay-up options at tight end this week. You could obviously play Travis Kelce, but I think given the savings, given the better matchup, I do slightly prefer Waller over Kelce this week. But you guys know me. I like to pay down at tight end. Hunter Henry's only $4,800, and he's in an excellent spot this week. The Bills have been killed by tight ends this season. I'm pretty sure they've been like the second worst team at defending tight ends, only behind the Falcons. In terms of like yards, touchdowns, fantasy points allowed to the tight end position, they're like top 3 in all of those categories. It is a great spot for Hunter Henry. It's a great game environment, a game that's projected to be high scoring. Should see a lot of pass attempts, just should see a lot of plays run in this game. I do like him a lot at $4,800. I think he's one of the better, kind of plays in that 4K range. Gronk, I don't mind either. In a game that projects to be high scoring, you could look there. Touchdown dependent, but we know they're going to target Gronk a lot in the goal or in the red zone near the goal line. He does have that touchdown upside at least, and he's going to be on the field a good amount, running routes. So I don't mind Gronk. Noah Fant, I like a lot as well for $4,200. This is a guy that I've played a ton this year, and it hasn't really worked out. We haven't really gotten any big games from Noah Fant besides weeks 1 and 2. But he's still playing over 70% of the snaps pretty much every single week. He's still getting targeted a ton. And because this Broncos team is so bad, like they're pretty much trailing in every game. Like they're having to throw in every game. I think that's going to be the case once again this week. So if we see Drew Lock drop back to throw 35, 40 times, Fant's probably going to see 7, 8 targets, if not more. This is still a guy that has big play upside, that's very athletic. He's one of the best receiving tight ends in the league, in my opinion. It's just that poor quarterback play. The Broncos offense as a whole just being bad has really, not let Noah Fant break out this year. I feel like if he was on a different team, like he would have probably had an awesome season. Kind of sucks that he's on this, bad Broncos team. But I do like Noah Fant at $4,200. I think he's another value play that I will be looking to in that 4K range. Really just probably going to go cheap here, and Fant, Hunter Henry, Gronk, like these are the kind of guys I'm looking to. Don't mind Hayden Hurst either for 3,900 if he does play this week. He is also very cheap, but yeah, I think we covered tight end, guys. I think we broke down the tight end position. I think we covered everything quarterback through tight end. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. I do really appreciate you watching. If you did enjoy, hit that like button before you do get out of here. Hit the subscribe button as well. Be sure to click that notification bell so that way you do get notified every time I upload. You'll never miss out on any of my new videos. And if you do really enjoy my videos, and if they do help you out a lot, and you want to get more content from me, you can check out the Patreon link down below in the description if that does interest you. I do have more content available on Patreon. I will have a full slate breakdown article posted on Saturday morning for Patreon members. I will also have my updated and final core plays posted on Patreon Sunday morning. So if you want to get access to that, check that out, link down below in the description. But best of luck this week, guys. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you did enjoy. Best of luck, and we will see you in the next one. Go win some money. Peace.